Welcome everyone to the Nerd Nook. I'm your host Antigua. With me, like always, is Noah Bailey. So, starting out today, both of us have finally watched Batman: The Caped Crusader on Amazon Prime. So we're going to talk about it today. So, what are your just first general thoughts on the show?
I like it. I think it did a good job of kind of kind of a quintessential Batman show. I do like that it was kind of like the animated series, like kind of old timey, but also had some things you're like that probably wasn't a thing yet, but you're like it's okay
Yeah.
because I'll forgive it. It did I really liked how they handled Batman, and also they also did a good job integrating Bruce Wayne into more of it.
Mm.
And I feel like sometimes they really focus on Batman 99% of the time and Bruce Wayne like 1%. Here it felt more, not necessarily 50-50, but at least like 60-40 Batman to Bruce Wayne, which I appreciate, when Bruce Wayne has to use his resources or his connections or whatever to kind of get certain advantages that he wouldn't have. I've
Yeah.
always thought that's a great part.
Something I always adore in any given Batman project is whenever Bruce is talking to Alfred, like as Bruce, but he's using his Batman voice or vice versa. I think that's always very fun.
Yes, I think it's hilarious. We're just like, oof.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
I honestly really I liked Alfred a lot in the show period, but I really liked their relationship.
Mm.
You never really I've never really seen that kind of relationship between Batman and Alfred in a show where he essentially, at least, for the vast majority of the show, basically just views Alfred, or he really just calls him Pennyworth, as just like a
Right.
means to the end of being Batman. And only at the very end of the show does he kind of like fully respect him as like a full on partner in this. And I kind of really like their repertoire throughout the entire thing, to the point where every single time they're together, he's talking as Batman. And I kind of hope now that he's shown that respect in future seasons, when he's talking to him, he actually be more Bruce as opposed to just Batman. Oh, do you freeze? Oh, you
Yeah.
good?
Okay. I
Okay,
think.
yeah.
Hold on. Still. Hold on.
Can
Are you,
can you over here? I can see
I'm
you.
trying to. I think I'm like half unfrozen, half frozen. Still, it's weird. It's like every
I
other
can.
second.
You're moving, so I think at least on my end it's all
Okay.
good.
We're good. Okay. I think we're
Yeah.
good. Okay.
Okay.
That
Sweet.
was wild.
Yeah. Yeah. Just how they incorporated Bruce and Batman together, like you said, I thought was very solid.
Hmm. Yeah, I think they did a good job. I was surprised because at first I was kind of skeptical because I was like, oh, like Alfred definitely, I was a little skeptical of how he looked and things like that. Because I mean, this show did do a lot of like, especially visual changes with things, and I was kind of like, oh, is this one of the things that I feel like they're just like, But I mean, it seemed to work fine. I think he was still pretty cool. Still, I mean, I really liked their dialogue together and how their connection definitely felt more emotional than it has in other iterations, which is really, I think, is really solid. 'Cause that is your like father figure slash pseudo, you know, son kind of thing. So it's very good to have that more emotional connection. And then Bruce kind of like when he really wants his way and kind of then he kind of like sets him off as he's just Pennyworth, whereas like that's not it's like no,
Yeah.
that's more than that. That's your family. That's your it's
Hmm.
basically your father. So
Right.
he kind of learns to incorporate that. And he's not just the hired help. He's not just the assistant. He's and he's more than that. He's family, and I think him learning that is really big. I think it really shows really well as the show goes on, which I like.
Hmm. Absolutely. Um, I really like just the varied rose gallery that they had throughout the show. Like, not every character I like immediately recognize, and the ones they did have
Mm-hmm.
in there, I liked a lot of the twists they had on them. I especially liked how the it, this show yes, it is, set in the very early days of Batman. It is like more grounded than like, Justice League era Batman is, but they still weren't afraid to kind of steer into the mystical and like the powers like Gentleman Ghost. I thought that whole episode was very well done.
Yeah. Yes, that was
Yeah.
such a good that was a pull. I was not expecting that. I was very proud of that. I thought that
Mm,
was a really nice yes, yeah, they're putting magic elements, which is not even this episode, but I mean multiple episodes having magical and supernatural
yeah.
elements already established and I mean they did a really good job with Gentleman Ghost, just like he seemed he's actually a ghost. Like I like how it wasn't like a guy, and it's like no, he's just a ghost. Like they're not. I didn't know
Yep.
if they were gonna like make it old timey, like oh, it's not really a ghost, it's like a guy in a college. So it was like no, it's straight up a ghost, and like
No
you have to,
holograms. We're not
yeah,
doing Scooby Doo nonsense. It's just
right, no, right. Well, that's kind of what I was I was expecting some kind of like Scooby Doo, like oh, it's a guy in a mask, oh, it's a guy in the sheet, oh, it's a projection, like
Mhm.
because it's old timey or whatever. It's like no, it's
No.
legit. I was like, oh, awesome. Like, I mean, it's scary, but awesome. And then you have the random witch doctor guy just like, yeah, I'll
Sure.
take that. And then the ghost just losing is like, oh, please. I was like, oh my God. That is insane.
um, I thought of you a lot during the episode where they're at that carnival and all of the Robins are being like having their soul
Oh,
kidnapped,
yeah.
and every single Robin except for Tim was kidnapped. I always forget him.
They had, I like, how do we have non-canon Robins before we have Tim Drake? Are we, like, what is
Carrie Kelly.
this? No, literally. I was so, like, I was like, what's, like, just
We
the
have Stephanie
disrespect.
Brown, who was Robin for all of 2 days.
No, literally. We have, like, oh, and I don't know if they just forgot or just what. I mean, like, even if he's just an off character, like, that was so weird. I was just like, why are we gonna, like, you got Carrie Kelly, but you can't do Tim Drake? Like, that's so disrespectful, man.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. One of these days, my boy's gonna get his much deserved glory, but man, that's so messed up. I mean,
Like maybe they're playing the long game, and I guess they're
not.
because from memory, I think Tim Drake was in the crowd when Dick Grayson's parents got shot.
Yes.
So
Yes, that's correct.
I guess he maybe would be too young to like exist with these other kids at this point if they are playing the super long game. But
No,
I don't.
I mean, they're not. There's no. I mean, they're just.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fine. I mean, I did think it was interesting because like the Dickie or Dick Grayson kid was like a shot for shot like exact thing from the animated series as a kid. So I thought that was a nice little touch.
Mm.
But like, yeah, I don't know, that was just so. I was like, wow, you're gonna use every other. It feels like, I mean, I guess except Davey, but it's like still like that's a little disrespectful. But you know, it's whatever.
Speaking of disrespectful,
Oh no.
they had Floyd Lawton in the show for all of 3 seconds.
Yes.
It's the one thing Deadshot is good at, shooting straight. He missed the one shot he made in the whole show. He didn't die, so he could come back later, but like, come on, dude.
I mean, like, I was like, I don't even get the point of doing that. It's like, I just, like, why? But
It could just been any random, like, you didn't have to name him at all. It could have just been some guy, but no, it had to be Floyd Lawton.
right? Well, it's like, we need someone to shoot at somebody. Oh, Deadshot every time. And it's just like, okay.
Okay, then you'll have Onomatopoeia of all characters be like the main gangster boss for the rest of the episode. Like I don't know.
Yeah. I mean,
Like-
I'll admit I think that's a nice pull. 'Cause that's a character that's like barely been used in anything, and that's kind of
Yeah.
cool. But like, it's not that. I don't know. It's kind of like, okay. I mean, it's like it was kind of interesting, but it was like when he was just saying like onomatopoeia doesn't really talk. He kind of just uses sound effects, which is like kind of cool, but also kind of dumb. It was kind of just like
Yeah.
okay, like
It doesn't really work
I
when
don't know. It
it's
was
not on a comic panel.
yeah. I mean, it was fine. It wasn't bad. It was just kind of like okay, like
Yeah.
whatever.
And that's kind of the a vibe I get for the entire show. Like I liked the show as a whole, but not every single let's see, but not every single character, not every single situation they got in like super grabbed me as much as I was hoping that the show overall would. And
Mhm.
I liked a lot of the side characters. Just I didn't always love what they were up to. Um, like even especially the stuff in the onomatopoeia episode just felt a little fillery. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like I,
Yeah.
I, it's one of those things where there, like I said, I liked the show. I enjoyed it, but just something about the overall vibe of the show, and it's not even the show's fault, really. It's just the vibe didn't do it fully for me to just absolutely love it. But
Mhm.
like I can't even like put my finger exactly what was missing or what I didn't love. But even both me and my roommate were like we were enjoying it, but it wasn't like we didn't like discuss it after it was over. We didn't have a lot to say as it was happening. But like I said, I enjoyed it. Just something about it didn't like click fully with me.
Yeah, and I think that's fair. I mean, it. There were definitely episodes that I liked a lot more than others. Some were stronger, some of them kind of like okay, whatever. But like, I think a big part of it that was, I guess, a big part of it that felt like it was really kind of missing for me was like I feel like sometimes they were just doing stuff just to do stuff, which is like,
Mm.
which is something we talk about kind of often on here with different things, where it's like, I mean, that's fine, I guess, but also if this isn't leading towards a main plot point, why are we just doing that? Like, you know
Right.
what I mean? Like using someone like Deadshot or using, or even like, having a lot of these like characters referenced but not used, or like using a
Mm.
character for like 5 minutes but then like not really, and then it's like, well, that's kind of cool, but also I don't know, and and also the episodes didn't really feel connected at all, which is kind of good and bad. It's like if you're going for like just episodic, this is random Batman stories, then like that's fine, but then it's like
Mm.
some of the episodes go right into the others, and some feel completely disassociated, which is kind of why it's a little confusing. Because, like, we start off with this whole, like, with the Penguin and Thorn thing, and that seems pretty, like, okay, this is going to go for a while. And then, like, after that, it's kind of just not really mentioned ever again.
Yeah,
And it's kind of like, huh,
I'm
that
in a
felt
way
off.
I'm okay. I'm actually kind of prefer when comic book shows are kind of presented as if this is one issue of a comic and you can basically
Mhm.
watch it in any order. It's not really connected. Like, yeah, like they might like reference thing that happened in Batman's past, but you don't really have to like necessarily know exactly what happened because Penguin blew up the precinct. That just happened. Yet in the next episode, it's fine. They didn't even mention that it got repromoted
Yeah.
back. Like, well, that episode ended, so we're just gonna move on.
And that's kind of what I mean. It's like, I'm okay with like episode. I'm okay with like just having one episode and just think. But like if they do that, you got to wrap the story up. It's like the stories didn't really end. I mean, they kind of did, but it was kind of like it felt like there was more coming, and it was like, oh no, we're just going with that. It's kind of like, oh, you kind of just didn't wrap that up really. You kind of just moved
Yeah.
on. I mean, some of them did. I mean, the Catwoman one felt more concise beginning, middle, and end. But like,
Mhm.
some of the other ones kind of felt like there was a beginning, middle, and you know, expected continuation that didn't happen. So it kind of just
Yeah.
depended.
And I think another you want to say part of the problem for me is there have been a lot of movies and shows and comics and whatever set during this time period of Batman. Even stuff made by Bruce Timm has been set during this time period. And we've
Mhm.
seen, we've seen Harvey Dent go from, Harvey to Two Face multiple times upon multiple different iterations of the character. So, like, unless you're going to do something completely new with it, which for a second I thought they would, but then they didn't. I just like you saw it coming. It just wasn't as interesting as I was hoping it would be, especially since they did play it pretty much completely straight.
Yeah, which I'm okay with in most regards, but I think the reason I didn't like it so much in this one is like I feel like if you're gonna play it really straight to just straight up how it is, I feel like it make you got to make Harvey more likable. I feel like for one,
Yeah,
so I feel like for some reason, like I lately they've made Harvey just kind of a jerk from the start. So when he comes Two Face, he kind of doesn't really change that much. He's just more evil.
yeah, and something that was not even really the show's fault because I think he did a good job playing the Harvey that he was given. But Diedrich Baker plays Batman in Batman Brave and the Bold, but he also now plays Harvey in this show. And like I
Mhm.
know that he's not playing Batman in this show. Yet whenever there was a wide shot, you didn't see who was talking, and you heard Diedrich Baker talking. Like, oh, that's Batman. And then it cuts in. No, it's Harvey. It's a little distracting.
Yes, I mean that's just like that's just being too good of a fan, maybe. But like I mean, hey.
Yeah. I also didn't really love Two Face's design. I thought it was a little. I thought I didn't like go far enough. It's just like a little belty. I prefer when like the entire half of his body is just like a different color.
Yeah. I mean, I guess this one was a little more like I guess trying to be more. I don't even think realistic's the word, but less like jarring. Because like, yeah, I mean, I like it when it's like his face looks like blue or something. You know what I mean? It's like
Mm-hmm.
wild versus here. It's just like, yeah, I mean, it's kind of melted, but I mean, here it kind of he kind of felt more like almost kind of like I mean, like without the doll, more like Scarface kind of like versus Two Face, which is like I get that was
I
kind of
don't.
already his thing, kind of, but like I guess it I don't know, it just didn't feel as the differences didn't feel as jarring. It felt more like he's just I don't know. He kind of just felt like he was
Yeah.
just always like that, just more
Yeah.
angry.
And I, like you said, I almost kind of wish. I mean, this is also kind of an issue I have with like one of my only major issues with the Dark Knight as a movie. I kind of wish that they didn't fully use their Two Face card in season one. Like kind of maybe the whole season is building towards Two Face, then you can have him be Two
Right.
Face for a majority of the next season. But instead, by the end of this season, he's already dead, so you can't use him anymore. That's
Yeah.
yeah, like that like that's the kind of an issue I have with a lot of these episodes where by the end of it the villain is either dead or completely out of the picture. So not that Batman doesn't have, many other rogues that he could pull from. We obviously don't have Mr. Freeze, don't have Poison Ivy, uh, Mad Hatter, any of the League of Shadows. Like there's a bunch of characters they could pull from going forward. But Scarecrow, etc. But I like having people like Two Face. I mean, Harley Quinn might come back, but her story seems to be more or less
Probably.
over, which I'll get back to that in
Yeah.
just a second. Um, but yeah, I kind of would have liked to see Harvey more as Two Face as opposed to like the episode and a half we got of him. You know?
Agreed. Yeah, I feel like it kind of like it felt rushed, but not really for a good reason, which is kind of what bothered me about it. It's kind of like,
Mm.
oh, we're really doing this. It's like, I mean, I feel like you could have just sat on regular Harvey for a while, because like, also, I mean, I know it's not you're not supposed he's not supposed to sound logical, but like Harvey's whole thing was so dumb because it was like, I want to be mayor. Oh, I need to fix this city. let me work with gangsters so I can help fix the city. It's like what? Like he's like, I'll give you money to be mayor. It's like what? Why did you think they were just gonna like help you without expecting anything? Like that was like I don't like it was so weird how he just like I don't know if that was just supposed to pretend to like not know, but I was like, dude, like he's clearly like gonna want faith. Like he's like, yeah, I put this other mayor in office, and he does things for me. Well, I want to be mayor. I want to play it straight. Oh, well, I'll help you put you in office too.
Yep.
And like clearly he's gonna want favors, bro. Like what
Yeah.
how was that not obvious?
Yeah.
Like, that
I
felt so
mean,
like
you can never claim that Harvey is exactly the most rational person. Oh,
like I mean it's like taking out a loan to like, pay off of your bills. It's like that's not really helping.
yeah.
Like you're kind of just
Some people
making a
do that.
different problem. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. I'm just saying, like it just I don't know. I know it's a cartoon. I know it has to like the plot has to get there, but I feel like they should have made a much more like logical or like something that made a little more sense for him to go through with it. 'Cause it kind of
Yeah.
felt just for no reason.
Yeah. Like I like more when Harvey kind of stumbles into running in with the mob by,
Mm-hmm.
either prosecuting somebody or having to defend somebody who's attached to the mob, and then like, Maroney or whoever like threatens him with something, and then he flips and they throw the acid on him. Like I feel like doing it more organically would have would have helped, but him taking dark money intentionally, that did feel a little weird.
Just like why? Like especially like when you say I'm trying to be mayor to fix the city, it's like you're clearly not. Like I think you just want to be mayor, which makes even less sense when you're actively doing it with the intention of, oh yeah, I'll just I'm using this clearly dirty money to do it. It's like okay,
Mhm.
but
Yeah.
I don't know. That was just one of those. It's like it felt very like we need Harvey to be mayor, but then had that connections. Okay, let's just write that, and not like
Yeah.
really write something that makes sense to get there. But
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah. Um, yeah. Moving back to Harley Quinn, I honestly
Yeah.
liked this version of Harley Quinn quite a bit. I liked how they basically like they did a very good job of giving her her own thing, a completely removed from the Joker. Like Joker didn't even show up until the very end, until her story was completely done. Um, I liked how how gradually we got to know Harleen as a character, and then her full on reveal as being Harley Quinn. I thought that was done very well.
Yeah, I thought it was done really cool. I thought it was cool too. It was definitely different than what we see, kind of using her persona and like kind of almost doing like a Batman thing, kind of
Mhm.
having her normal persona and then having this other alter ego that's really making things in the dark. And I thought that was a nice little shadow they were kind of doing, especially when Harley's kind of like psychoanalyzing Batman and kind of breaking it down. It's kind of like this
Yeah.
is exactly this because this is what you do, kind of thing.
Mm,
And then
right.
like yeah, but I definitely like when she gets like with the torture, I was like, wow, this is like I thought it was really good because it's like it's kind of like the other side of therapy per se, but it's also I
Mm.
mean clearly she's using it to like get money and things like that, but I
Yeah.
think it's really interesting how she's like intensive treatments, but really you're
Right.
doing crazy stuff.
Yeah. And I really liked how when she still was Harleen, I liked how it was subtle, but like a lot of the phrases and words she said, like the inflections she used were almost felt to me like they were pushing up against a dam that like any second it felt like crazy could come
Mm-hmm.
out. She was able to hold it back. It was like every now and then she would like just say something weird or like say something or do something that would just be like a little jarring. That I like that portrayal.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's kind of how it should be because again, she is concealing the crazy, so it should the fact that it shows
Yeah.
in little spurts is great.
Yeah. And I like how it wasn't in the show, especially, it wasn't the Joker that turned her crazy. She just always Always was. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm fine with that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
Um,
changes and
yeah. But speaking of Joker, I personally was really, really hoping that this would be the one time in any media ever we finally got him starting as the Red Hood. That feels like a kind of thing that fit perfectly into this world. But no,
I
he's
agree.
after credit scene. He's already maybe we'll get a flashback. But I wanted him to just at least one episode as the Red Hood.
Especially if they establish it as an actual thing and like there's multiple characters who do it, and then he's just some guy you forget about, and then it's like, oh,
Yeah.
that's gonna be the Joker.
Mm-hmm.
But that'd be great. Also, I am so upset that they even did it at all because there was no reason for it at all. Like I get the Joker's a super fun, super popular character that will just make anything awesome. And I get that. And I know it's Batman, you need Joker, but it's like you did not have to do that. Like you're still probably getting another season. Like you don't have to like it's so I mean, even with like it's the same way I felt about how they did it in the Batman. It's like you did not have to do that. Like every Batman movie ever, it feels like if the Joker's not the main villain, there's a stinger or there's like a last little illusion or something that like, oh, the Joker's coming because it's like, hey, don't cancel us. We're gonna do something better with the Joker next time. It's like,
Yeah.
do we have to do this every single time? Like, I get
No.
sometimes it's cool, but like, you don't really. Plus, the Joker having foreshadowing is kind of unnecessary, in my opinion. I feel like the Joker should kind of just show up.
Like
Like, I don't think
we
we need
know
like
he's
signs.
coming at some like it was not like you
Yeah,
as an audience member if you know Batman it's not like who like, am I to assume that the creators of the show who are the same people at least part of the same people that made the original Batman show are we supposed to assume that they forgot about him? No, he's coming later. It's
right.
fine. And Batman has so many other members of his rogues gallery you could tease. Like imagine how cool it would have been if it panned to Tibet or wherever Ra's al Ghul lives, pans to there and he, Ra's al Ghul says a thing. Like, I don't know, I feel like that,
Yeah,
would at
it's
least,
better.
tease that this world is bigger than just Gotham. You know?
Yeah, and I don't know, it just felt so forced, and I just like I hate that because like you don't really need to do it. Like if you want to do it, that's totally fine, but you don't have to like make it your season-ending cliffhanging teaser. Like that's just so. It feels so desperate to me, and it's just kind of like, come on, man. Like you don't.
Yeah.
I don't know. They've done it
Obviously,
a lot lately.
I mean, I'm looking forward to Joker showing up in the next season, but I'll be looking
Yeah.
forward to Joker showing up at some point regardless. So
Right.
I didn't need to have already seen and kind of heard him to be excited.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Like we'll see, but I feel like they're really gonna like overdo the Joker stuff now, where it's like, why don't we just gradually move in the thing? We got plenty of other people in the Rogues Gallery, like. Like I personally am really excited to see how they do like Riddler in this world, for example,
Yeah.
because I've always been a fan of Riddler. So I kind of want to, especially, this feels like a time where like things like crosswords and jigsaw puzzles could be really
Mm,
utilized well, and like that feels like something that's right for this time period. So I'm
yeah,
excited about that, but they
absolutely.
might not even use them because,
Mm,
eh.
yeah. I really liked those two dirty cops. Although one of
Yes.
them, I know he's not Officer Loeb, but he's shaped like Officer Loeb, and I'm just gonna call him Officer Loeb because that's just who that guy is.
Wasn't
Tell
it?
me some
Was
other
it?
name, and that name is someone from the comics.
Yeah.
But like that's just who that is.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. It's Bullock and the other dirty guy. It's fine. I mean, I thought
Bullock,
that
yeah, that's
was
it.
great because,
Mm,
like, I like that. Like, corruption in Gotham was a main plot point of the whole show because I think that's one of
mm.
the reasons Batman exists in the first place.
Oh
I
yeah.
feel like if you don't have corruption in Gotham at all levels, there's no reason to have a Batman. So I
Right.
think that's really cool that they had that and like was made a main plot point. I like how like everyone just kind of knows it from the start and it's just kind of where we're at.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like a surprise, like, oh, Bullock was dirty. It's like, oh yeah, Bullock, of course. But like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like,
And I love how the city is so corrupt from just every level, where even though like everyone saw Bullock shoot Firebug, he's called Firebug for some reason. I don't know why they emphasize that, but
yeah,
whatever.
I did. Yeah, that was so stupid.
Yeah, whatever. That was a weird thing to whatever. Even though we saw him shoot and kill Firebug, he was heralded as a hero cop for doing that. Like that's one way to look at it, I
I
guess.
mean, I mean, to be fair, he was burning down the building. So I mean, I would have shot him too. But you know,
Mm,
but yeah, I mean, yeah, I like, and it was so interesting. Like, I liked how they were going to extreme lengths to be like extra dirt, putting Firefly out of prison in the first place,
mm-hmm.
doing this and that, and creating things like, oh, Batman hit the cops. See, Batman's the problem. It's like, oh,
Yep.
yeah, yeah, get this guy, but. Yeah, it was. I think they did a really good job. I think they could have done a little more with like more of the cops being dirty. Also, I feel like they kind of
Uh,
made it just them two, and it's like I feel like it should really be like 50-50 at least. But
yeah, yeah. That's also another like one of the only like minor issues I have with the Batman, where like, oh, they make it a big deal where the all the police in Gotham are crooked, and then at the end, like, oh, there's actually like 40 guys that aren't somehow. It's like that seems a little forced. Whatever. Um, yeah, I do personally prefer like Gordon taking over and then like basically wipes the slate clean. All your fired. Bring in my new people to fix this.
right, right, and I think that's really good. He has like his Montoya and like one other person, and it's like we just start over.
Yeah.
Because all this is not going to work. And I think that's and I think that's I think like in my ideal Batman writing, it's like Batman gaining a rapport with the police as they're kind of resetting this new thing, and then as that's happening, they're going up, and then Harvey goes with them, and then he kind of has his demise, and then it's like, oh, as we're going up, he's going down, and then it like goes from there. But it's like
Yeah.
it doesn't have to be exactly that. But I mean, I think they handled it really well for what they had. I definitely liked like I thought it was interesting how like sometimes when people turn like so like for like the Onomatopoeia episode, for example,
Hmm.
they have that other cop that's with him that like clearly you're like something's off with him even though he's been around. And then at the end
Yeah.
he's kind of like, oh man, I'm gonna turn on Barbara. It's like, oh, didn't see that coming. But it's also like, what makes you think they're gonna let you?
Uh-huh.
Like, I don't know. It kind of felt like he was kind of like, I'm like, you think they're not gonna kill you too? Like, are you like? It was weird because it was like I don't know if he was in on it the whole time or not, but it didn't seem like it. So it was like, were you expecting to just turn her in and they're just not gonna kill you and just give you the money?
Yeah, I don't
Like,
know.
I don't
You
see how
can't
that was
just
gonna work.
kill
I'm
the
like,
commissioner's daughter and get away with it. Like, what are you doing?
well, especially it's like if they're trying to kill everyone here now, so it's like you're kind of too late if you were gonna turn on them for one. And two,
Yeah.
like because I mean they were tracking them, like they saw blood in the forest and stuff like that. So it's not like he was like an informant telling them how to get there. So it's like I don't know. I maybe I misunderstood it, but I was like I feel like this was a really not. I
Yeah.
think you're just panicking and didn't plan any of this out.
Absolutely.
But it is what it is. But also, how did you feel about them changing Barbara in this? In terms of like she's a lawyer and not just like the commissioner's daughter.
um, I don't know. I like the
Right.
idea of her basically like being at odds with her father at a occupational level. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I like her kind of like starting that rapport with that man early on. Although I don't love that she's like aged up so much.
Right.
With Bruce Timm has this weird thing with with wanting Batman and Barbara to be together, and I don't want that to happen. At least she's older now, so at least there's that.
Oh,
Still, like
but still, no.
I also so this is gonna kind of sound a bit weird, but just bear with me for a second. I do not care in the slightest that they race swapped the Gordons. It's one of
No,
those things where like
whatever.
they made him black once in the Batman, and then he's just like that forever, like with Nick Fury. I'm fine.
Yeah,
It does not matter. Like
no.
people are like, oh, it's the 40s. No, black people didn't exist in the 40s. First of all, stop that. It's fake. But second, what are you doing? Like it's fictional 40s. It doesn't matter.
Right. It is Batman. Like it's not that big of a deal.
Yeah. So I don't care at all that they race swapped. However, I felt like there were a couple of times, I can only think of one right now, but I know there were a couple where Montoya specifically was kind of like chastising Barbara for living this privileged, perfect life. Like you don't know what it's like to be, to basically to be a minority like me. But the way it's written, it's as if Barbara would still be white, yet she's not. So I don't know. Like I almost kind of wonder if those kinds of lines were written like before it was decided that they would be race swapped, or if I'm just reading too far into it. But
I
I don't
mean,
know.
maybe. I mean, maybe she was implying more just the lifestyle as in the race thing. But and again, I think she did specifically say like the race. I don't remember, but eh, I mean that also could be the case. They just like
Yeah. Uh,
decided to change it. 'Cause there is a lot of like I guess cultural changes we could say just that kind of just were just because. But I mean, still,
yeah. But again, it could also just be this is a fake reality where she just had a better life than Montoya, and Montoya was like, not jealous, but she was like, it could be warranted in this reality that exists in this world, but just
yeah.
there are just sometimes when lines written like that where it feels like the writers thought the line was smarter than it came off as being. Like I don't necessarily disagree with the message, but just in context, it didn't feel as poignant as maybe they were thinking it was. But again, I could just be misreading it. My roommate also had the same. Actually, he actually was the first one that brought it up, so it doesn't like I'm not again. I could be misinterpreting things, but regardless, as far as Barbara herself being a lawyer, it's definitely a change that is interesting, but I don't necessarily dislike it. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I don't dislike. I think it's fine. I don't. It doesn't really matter. I mean, I think her being a lawyer in this context did help her be more part of the plot in some aspects. It's kind of like the whole Mary Jane reporter thing, which again does feel copycat to Lois Lane, but yeah.
Yes.
But yeah, it's kind of like it's a smart way to keep your characters involved in the plot without them just arriving to the plot or the plot just being written around them in some ways, but it kind of still happened anyway, it feels like. So
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It was interesting.
Yeah.
I don't think it wasn't too distracting or anything. I thought it was fine, but
Mhm.
there's some things that I was just kind of like, do we really need
Another
to do that? But whatever.
another kind of major issue I've heard people bring up about the show, which I really don't understand, is some people were really like kind of upset over the fact that Batman wasn't in a lot of the show, and I like
Disagree.
I disagree because like yes, Batman is like it is Batman the Cape Crusader, but especially early Batman, he's perceived as like a urban legend. Like he's not supposed to like be doing all this stuff all the time. Like if Batman just fixes the problem, then you would lose a lot of the character of the GCPD. You lose a lot of the character of the villains of the city itself, which I feel is a major aspect of any Batman media. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Like, and I like Montoya and Barbara Gordon and whoever else was, major players enough, or like I wasn't always, I didn't always need Batman to be, to be in every scene. So I think it was done. Like I think there was a decent enough balance there.
Yeah, I agree. And the thing too, also is like, I mean, I like kind of like I said earlier. I think a lot of the show had a lot of Bruce Wayne doing Batman stuff essentially in it.
Mm.
So I feel like even though it's Bruce Wayne, I feel like that still counts as like Batman. So like even like the part
Yeah,
where Bruce Wayne's like looking around the fair and stuff like that, it's like, I mean, that's still count. I mean that's not technically Batman stuff, but I mean that's kind of Batman stuff. I
yeah,
mean, whenever he's like, or like whenever he's using the voice or doing research, even if it's in, or even the therapy sessions, those felt more like. I mean, I know he's not punching anything, but those
yeah.
feel more like Batman ones. He kind of like mentally is checking things out, but
Mm-hmm.
I think there was. I don't think there was. It wasn't all Batman, but I think there was plenty of Batman time in the show. I don't think that was
Right.
definitely not a complaint of mine.
Mm-hmm. Um, yeah. I don't think there's anything else major plot wise or character wise I want to go over. Anything else you can think of that we missed?
Trying to think. I did like most of it. I think Batman was done really well. I think the voice acting was also
Oh
really
yeah,
good for Bruce Wayne
it's
Batman.
a
It was
very good take.
very solid. Yeah, I
Yeah,
was I was very impressed with that. I thought it was the voices were still like it was still significant. You could tell which was going for, but it was definitely different. So I liked it. I liked it a lot. I think
mm,
it did a really good job of kind of being the stern like serious voice. But even as Bruce Wayne, it was more lighthearted. You could tell it was more lighthearted. It was more
yeah,
friendly, not as big a deal.
hmm,
Yeah, but I
yeah,
yeah, but I did like
yeah,
that a lot. I like that interpretation a lot. And I also like that Batman felt very in character the whole time. I liked that a lot too. Like there weren't many moments where I was like,
mm,
why would Batman do that? It was very like
yes,
Batman had a tendency to do what you would expect Batman to do. Like, like even like the disappearing thing or just like having no boundaries and just kind of breaking into somebody's office. And then they
yeah,
look at him, he's just like, it's just so hilarious,
uh,
it's just like yeah,
yeah,
that's Batman. He does that.
yeah. And
So I
I
thought that
also
was
really
really
like
cool.
how, like, because we are so early in his career, yes, like he is a good fighter, he is a good detective, but he's not the best fighter, he's not the best detective at this point. I think that's, he's in a good spot for, for this era. He doesn't suck. Like I kind of feel like he sucked in the in the Long Halloween movie. Like I like those movies, but I feel like they kind of underplayed his abilities a little too much. Um,
Yeah,
whereas I feel like, he definitely not, again, not to like Justice League levels where he's just one shotting, basically everybody. But
right.
yeah, I think he's at a very good spot right now for, for this time period.
Yeah, I agree. I think this, and I think, I expect, if they have a next season, maybe, some time passes, he's a little bit better. His costume's a little more, has a little more gadgets slash,
Mhm.
whatever to it, a little more, maybe some armor or something. But no, I thought it was really cool. I will say, I did think it was kind of, I guess, I don't want to say lack of gadgets, but like not as like I get it's a 40s thing, so it doesn't make sense. They wouldn't have as many, but it did feel a little like less gadgety, especially like it was kind
Yeah.
of like we have the Batmobile seemed to be like this very like pretty intense for the time period, but then like and like pretty intense like computers and stuff, but like nothing else. And it's
Hmm.
kind of like, huh, okay. I thought you would have more like other than smoke bombs and batarangs and like kind of a grappling hook. That was kind of it. And I was like, huh, I thought you'd have more, but it was
Yeah,
fine.
that's fine. Um, yeah, I think that's everything. Definitely looking forward to a second season. Hopefully that comes
Oh
out,
yeah.
next year. And Amazon seems to generally be pretty good about outside of Invincible. We're pretty good about shows coming, yearly.
Yeah.
um, so yeah, looking forward to it. I also think that 10 episodes is a good amount for animated show. Obviously, I would want more. If it were only 8 22-minute episodes, that would have been very disappointing. But I think 10 is about as few as I would is the lowest amount that I would say they can get away with for an animated
Yeah.
20 ish
Especially
minute show.
right. Especially with 20-minute episodes, kind of like, come on now, we can do better than that.
Mm. Yeah, I hope next time they don't release them all at the same time. Just like with Fallout, I really feel like releasing them weekly could have helped generate make more excitement for the show, but that's kind of what they do with every Amazon show, so I can't blame them for doing that. Like, it worked for The Boys, so why bother? Why not continue that trend? Um,
Yeah,
looking forward to watching more.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's good to have. I mean, it's good to have Batman shows out there. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I think it's just really kind of cool. It's been a while.
Like you said, it's even though they're definitely not even close to the same universe, it's very good that we live in an era where we have a Batman and a Superman show running at the same time.
Right.
Yeah. Like, it's not the same universe, not even on the same network at all. But it's good. And James Gunn is working on claims he's working on a Wonder Woman show of some kind. So having the Trinity potentially running at the same time in a few years
Sure.
would be pretty cool. Yeah.
Sure. Let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Only have one like topic to discuss before we get on to the rest of the podcast. Inside Out 2 has officially beaten Lion King 2019 to become the highest grossing animated movie of all time.
Sheesh. Woo.
Yeah, I was a little afraid that it wouldn't quite cross that last barrier because I think it had like 12 million left last time we talked, and I wasn't sure if it would be in enough theaters to do it, but it did it. Lion King's only at 1.65. Inside Out 2 is at 1.667. So,
all right. It's official.
Yes. Like, again, I'm sorry I doubted you, but Inside Out 2 was apparently the movie people needed right now.
it is a really good movie, and I think definitely the theme, unfortunately, is very relatable with a lot of society, with like anxiety taking over your life. But
Yeah.
I mean, it's a great, it's a great movie, excellent animations, really good story, and Pixar rarely misses. So, yeah, I mean, that's success.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, they're definitely going to be a sequel. Obviously, there's already a spin-off show announced, but they're going to get Inside Out 3 out as soon as they possibly can.
Oh, absolutely, as they should. I mean, that we need. I mean, that movie. I mean, I'm surprised it took as long to get Inside Out 2 as it did, because I mean, the first one. I mean, I know it didn't do as well financially, but I mean, that was one of my favorite movies Pixar's put out. So I was really expecting this for a while.
Absolutely. Like, I don't know if you can bank on Inside Out 3 being another billion-dollar movie, but people weren't expecting Inside Out 2 to be one. So, yeah.
That's what I mean. I'm like, I don't think it's gonna be that good, but this is crushing it. So I think if you make 1.6. I mean, the sequel should at least be a billion, unless they just fumble.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm so glad something finally beat Lion King, because I've always been very upset at that being the highest grossing animated movie. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah,
just because all the characters are CG, the landscape is all real. Like,
right? Yeah, that honestly, that should probably be its own category, if anything. If we're gonna make it, I mean, it's not animated. I mean, that's not really animated. Like, you can't put that in the same with a movie that's completely, Inside Out 2 is there's nothing real in it at all.
Like if Lion King is animated, I feel like Avatar should be animated.
Right?
Oh, there's human
With that
characters in like
logic,
what 2 scenes? Like it's not really.
that's what I'm saying. I mean, the human characters are barely in, especially the second one. There's barely
Yeah.
any humans in it, So it's like that should definitely, with that logic. But you
Hmm.
know,
Yeah. Yeah. Good on Disney for finally beating Disney. So,
yeah.
if anyone can do it, it's gonna be Disney.
Way to go! You can do it.
It's like that Obama meme putting a medal around his own neck.
So real.
Okay, it's time to flex our nerd knowledge.
Woo!
So, here's how it's going to work. You have a list of video game consoles and how many units they sold.
Yes.
You're going to say a console to me. I'm going to say a number. And if I'm going to say, like, once you give it to me, I'm going to say how close I think I'm going to get. And then you can be like, you can like either veto that or like, I'm not going to be like 10 million, but like, 3 or whatever. Like, but per console, I'm going to see how accurate I think I can be. Okay?
Okay.
Start.
Okay. First, we're gonna go with the Wii U.
Wii U? Okay. You're gonna, okay. So I'm going to be within 0.2 million of this.
Oh dear.
I sold 13.56 million.
How did you know that?
Yeah.
Why do you know that?
Give myself too much, not enough credit.
Oh, good lord. That was exactly right. That is exactly what I had.
I was like, maybe the numbers have updated to 0.7, but no, not even close. 13.56 million.
That is exactly verbatim what I have on my spreadsheet, sir.
Yes, even if I get none of the
Congratulations,
other ones,
but also,
I mean, it doesn't help that the number was so low. If like,
yeah, I mean, but still, I mean,
if I get none of the others right, I won.
I mean, as far as I'm concerned, we can stop now. I don't even feel like reading the rest of it.
But yeah, the Wii U is sold a very, very, very low amount. That was one of them. That was one of them, sure.
Was one of the consoles of all time.
Yeah, sure was.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, next.
Oh man. Okay, let's throw it back a little bit further. What about the Super NES?
I'm gonna be within 2 million. It's still 49.7.
Very close, 49.1. So
okay.
hit your threshold, but
yeah,
not exactly this time. So you're slapping really. But I mean, gosh, so stupid impressive. Yeah. I am. All right, let's switch it up. Let's go to something not Nintendo based, which is definitely your wheelhouse. What about PlayStation 3?
PlayStation 3? I'm gonna be within 3 million because the last time I actively tracked the numbers, it was at like 88. I don't think it ever crossed 90. Did it though? Because it sold some into the PS4. I'll say 89 million.
Okay, and I've got 87.4, so you're within your range.
Cool. Okay,
that works.
87.4. Yeah, the PS3 and the Xbox 360 were like neck and neck there towards the end of the generation, so they're both like around 87, 88. So sorry if you had the 360 on your list. I kind of already spoiled that.
I did it because I had a feeling you would know that, so I actually don't have the 360 on my list, so that works out. Okay. All right, another classic, and one everyone's probably had at some point, Game Boy Advance.
Game Boy Advance. That was also like 88 million, I think. Because I in that system, weirdly enough, that system was only on the market as Nintendo's exclusive system for like 3 years. It was, I think it was came out in '01 and replaced with a DS in '04. It still sold after that, but and then the DS went to sell, the second most of all time. But within those 3 years, it sold a stupid amount. I'll say within 3 million, 88 million.
So that's what this one I've got 81.51 here. So it's a little
Okay.
short of where you're at, but that's still, I mean, you're
Yeah.
still on track very much
Yeah.
so.
Like
But yeah, that one.
yeah, it's so, like I said, it's just very weird that not that they gave up on the Game Boy, because the DS can also, or at least the first iteration of it, could still play Game
Right.
Boy games. But it's weird that they just, like, this thing was selling really, really, really well, and they just kind of stopped making. I don't know. It was like it easily could have beat 100 if they had, had it being its primary system for 2 more years. But oh well.
Agreed. I mean, it's not like they like took a step back with the DS. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
Speaking of DSs, what can
Mhm.
you tell me about the Nintendo 3DS?
Within 2 million, it sold 78.
Oh wow, that's great. Okay, so it's actually 75.94.
Only
So
75.
it's
Really? I thought it was 78%. Huh.
75.94. That's what I've got.
Okay.
Let me let me double check.
You said
Be sure.
75.94. That's actually barely
Yeah,
within my
that's
range, but still.
that's what I was saying. I was like, oh wow. I was like, oh dear. I was like, yeah, that's what I'm 79.94. That's super
Okay.
close. Not
Yeah,
bad at all. Not
yeah.
bad at
The
all.
3DS, it would have sold a lot more if they didn't kind of fumble the launch. Um, they made a lot of mistakes during that era of Nintendo stuff, and then didn't realize their mistakes with the Wii U. So the 3DS, it launched at $250, which was a lot, but we still paid that much. And it launched with basically no games. Yes, you can play all of your DS games, and they still released a couple of DS games within the 3DS era, but it didn't have a Mario Kart or any kind of Mario game until its second year on the market. And the games that were out didn't really, they weren't like major system sellers. But if they had like delayed it a year so that they could actually have games for it in its first year, I think it easily could have broke 80 at least. But yeah, that first year it floundered. They actually had to make a price cut within the first 6 months down to less than 200. So
Mm,
yeah, so the fact that it
okay.
got even 75 is impressive.
Something a little less impressive. PlayStation Vita.
Dear me, how much did that not do? I I think the Wii U actually sold more. I think, because that was kind of a meme for a while, that Sony and Nintendo both had this absolutely just disgustingly badly selling system. But obviously, like the Wii U selling bad was more of a blow because it's, the home console should sell a lot, although the PS Vita is competing in the handheld space, and especially in Japan, handhelds sell like gangbusters, and just no one wanted the Vita. I'm gonna say within 2 million. No, that does too much margin of error for there. I'll say within one either way. 12.
So it's actually 14.
Dang it! I
So
had 14 in my head. I was like,
yeah,
I thought
you
for
had
sure
it.
it
You
didn't
had it.
actually. I didn't think it actually sold more than the Wii U, but I guess it just barely did. Okay.
Yeah, technically it did, according to the internet, but
Yeah.
yeah, but no, still super
Okay.
close to there. But yeah, yeah. I mean, clearly it did pretty awful. I honestly forgot this was a thing, which is why I put it on
Yeah.
there.
Like the PSP,
Because,
it obviously got absolutely destroyed by the DS, but it still sold like
Mhm.
55 million units. So the fact that the PS Vita came out and sold a fifth with pretty much of what its predecessor did, which also happened with the Wii U. It's very
Mhm.
funny.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. It's just like, yeah, this is just didn't do anything. It was like,
Yeah.
oh,
Yeah,
okay.
especially a lot of the similar issues happen with, that with the 3DS and the PS Vita, where way overpriced at launch, had almost no games ever. The PS Vita really never had any major system sellers outside of like ports of games you already got in the PS3. Um,
Mm,
so yeah, not their best move.
fair enough. All right, what can you tell me about Nintendo GameCube?
GameCube, was it 21 or two? It's either 21 or two. It was not higher than that. So within 2 million, 21.5.
Yeah, it was 21.74. So yeah, you
Good.
were well within your range there.
Hmm.
No surprise there. The man knows his Nintendo stuff.
Yeah, that's it's kind of wild that people, especially now, kind of perceive the GameCube as this like overwhelming success that all of their friends had, but
It feels
you
like
just
it.
you just had good friends who had a GameCube. Like it,
Well,
Nintendo, they didn't like it wasn't a utter failure, but it wasn't like resounding success. Um, like 21 is not garbage, and it had a very high attachment rate. Like almost every first party GameCube game sold a lot of units, so they made up their money overall like that way. But there were a lot of things going against it, like third parties backing out because the GameCube discs were so small. Most third party games just couldn't really fit on them effectively. Um, it looked, some people, again, revisionist history of modern internet can't comprehend, people back in the day having different opinions than them now. People back in the day just could not comprehend or did not like the GameCube having a handle and being purple. They called it the purple lunchbox. It was not the best design if you want to if you want to appeal to, the hardcore gamers of the time.
it does look like a lunchbox, to be fair.
Yeah, I don't get the handle. I really don't like if ever I took it to a friend's or a different house, I would put it like in a some kind of carrying case or a backpack or something. Wouldn't hold it by the
Yeah.
handle. I don't know what that was about.
Oh.
And when they announced the Switch, they kind of like jokingly said, "We actually our first ever portable console was the GameCube. It even had a handle." Like that. That's fun.
Gosh. At least I can learn to laugh about it now.
Yeah.
All right.
Next.
Going more modern, what can you tell me about Xbox One? Don't be shy.
I don't think it hit the 50s. I don't think. Because that system just never really took off. This is probably the one I'm going to be the most off on, if I am off at all.
Hmm,
Because my first of all, Microsoft isn't the best about giving hard numbers like that.
that's true.
Also, it it was kind of just deemed a failure, especially compared to the PS4, which sold almost triple the number if I'm in the right ballpark. Um, I'll say within a range of 41 million.
So it's the number I have online is approximately 58 million,
58. Oh,
which,
okay.
yeah, so
Yeah.
a little bit higher
Okay.
than you might have noted, but I mean, still kind of in the same
Yeah.
ballpark. Not as well,
Wow.
especially the PS4 definitely did a lot better. So,
Yeah. Like
uh,
that's that's wild how like that system is considered a failure yet still sold 58 million units. Like I know
right?
R&D for that system was a lot, and they there was a lot of iterations, and like just there was a lot of other like they like bought up a bunch of studios and those didn't really pay off. Even nowadays that hasn't really paid off for them. So just the generation didn't really make a profit for them, but still, you know, many systems wish they sold 58. The GameCube 21. Yeah, I wish it was 58.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's
and the
like,
fact that the Xbox
everything.
Series is like the Xbox Series is tracking to be like just barely above the Xbox One. He's like I don't know what happened. How do you fail this bad twice? But anyway,
I mean, part of it, I think, is just, one, I think PlayStation's just cooking, but
yeah.
also, I think it's just, there's better competition now,
Mhm.
Got to step it up.
Yeah. Next.
All right. Speaking of PlayStation, how many
Mhm.
units for the original PlayStation?
108.
Ooh, we said that confidently.
Am
You want
I?
a range on that? Or you just
I'll say
so
within
you're
three.
you're
Within
not
within three.
so you're not exactly right. It's not 108 exactly. I've got 102.49 as the official
102.
number
Really?
here. 102.
Huh.
That's what we're saying.
Okay.
But man, but no,
Huh.
this one was obviously very
Yeah.
successful.
Mhm.
Everyone had one of
Yeah.
these. I had one of these. It was the
Because I
nostalgia
knew it was
factor is
I
big
knew it
one.
was more than the Wii, but I thought it was by a bigger margin than
Hmm.
just like a couple 100,000 units. Um, so that's interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, I was saying Wii's not on here, but Wii's only it's less than honestly less than a million. Yeah, it's
yeah.
like
The Wii's like
point.
101 point something, and the PS2 is
Is
102
it?
point
Yeah,
something.
it's like 101.63, and PlayStation's 102.49, which is like
Yeah,
it's basically the same, but
800K.
still
Yeah,
super impressive. Yeah, but
yeah. Like
still
that's within a
super
rounding
impressive.
error. Like you could, yeah.
Right,
Um,
right. That's a line item. But and last but not least, the original Xbox.
the original Xbox, it sold. I know it sold like around the same number as the GameCube. So it's somewhere in the low to mid 20s. I think it's like just barely, but I'll say within 2 million, 22.
Yep, is 24. So that, yeah,
Perfect.
yes, nicely done, nicely done. Yeah, man. Dude,
Yeah.
you know this stuff.
Yep.
That's-
I
yeah.
like numbers.
All right,
Okay.
bonus round.
Yep.
I know you said like don't put Sega really on here, and I respect that,
Okay.
but
Uh,
Dreamcast
Dreamcast is like 9.2.
9.13. Yeah,
Yeah, let's go.
that is.
I just know that one. I don't know why. I just know that one.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Hey, dude, that was epic. That was really good.
Thank you. Okay. Now it's your turn.
Oh gosh,
So we're gonna do
I'm
a
not as good
little,
as this.
little different. But I still think it's kind of falls under the same wheelhouse, and I think this will honestly be like a little more fun. You'll gain some even more knowledge from this overall. So for you, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna list two superhero movies, and you're gonna tell me which
Mhm.
one you believe made more at the box office.
I like it. Yeah, I like
And
this.
I like tried to make them comparable, either like similar kinds of movies vibe wise, or like there's a story between them, or and almost all of them, the amount that's different is less than 100 million. Just keep up
Oh,
with
jeez. Okay. Okay.
it. Yeah. Some of these
Noted.
are wildly close. Like I'll say one is like that. There's no way those are no, they are very close. Um, okay. So we'll start with Man of Steel versus Iron Man, two movies that started their respective cinematic universes.
Okay. Okay. So I know first Iron Man did fairly well. Not did. Oh man.
Keep in mind, Iron Man was the first like big superhero movie. The Dark Knight hadn't even come out yet. Yeah.
Right.
So many other
So it's
movies,
like,
even Batman Begins was like 300 something. Like X-Men was cooking, but it was kind of falling off. Same with Spider-Man, same with Fantastic Four. So it's, wasn't the best time for superheroes, and this kind of, came out swinging. Whereas Man of Steel, it wasn't the best movie, but it was still well within it was, post Avengers, superheroes were big.
right.
So this was its time to strike.
Right, Dark Knight trilogy had already come out, and that was a big thing. And because of that, I'm gonna say Man of Steel made more because
Yes.
that just seemed, yeah. Plus, I mean,
Yeah.
not to be mean, but like at the time, Superman is just more iconic at any point, pretty much ever, than Iron Man was
Yeah.
before the first Iron Man.
Yeah. And I would argue if it were called Superman the Man of Steel, it would have tacked on an extra 100 million easily.
Yes, agreed. Yes.
Yeah, but trying to write off the Dark Knight hype with this name that no one really ever calls Superman outside of like heavy comic book nerds, it was not like no. I just don't think that was
And
the
I
right
mean,
call.
yeah, I mean, like, yeah, and it's one of those things where it's like, just put the name in there. It's okay. Like, it's. I know I know the rest movies were just Superman, this, that, that, but I mean, I feel like that's fine. I mean, it is a Superman movie, so just put it in the title.
It's fine. Yeah. Yeah, Man of Steel. Do you want to guess the numbers, or after you get it right or wrong, do you want me to just tell you?
Oh, you can just tell me. I'm not
Okay.
going to guess anything close to right.
Man of Steel
I'm not
was
like you.
660. Sorry. Man of Steel was 668. Iron Man was 585.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I guess like pre superhero movie. I mean, not pre superhero movie because I know like the Spider-Man movies and like some like the other X-Men movies and stuff that came out before that. But like, yeah, that wasn't like we weren't in the current era of superhero movies at that time.
Yeah, and to like start your universe over 500 million is a good place to jump off from.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay. Next up, Deadpool versus Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ooh, I feel like Guardians of the Galaxy, but I'm also maybe not because the first one, right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna because Deadpool, the first Deadpool is rated R, and I feel like that might have been enough to make it not as seen as the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie. I'm gonna say Guardians of the Galaxy.
I like your logic, but it was Deadpool.
Of course it was.
It's really close. Deadpool was
Kind
782.
of close.
Guardians was 773.
Oh god, that's like a week. That's like a day.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
And
Oh man.
if I had put Deadpool 2 in that same spot, the margin would be almost identical. Apparently, Deadpool 2 made 785, which is just barely more than the first one.
Yeah, no, yeah, I remember. Yeah, because I remember the Deadpool movies made like almost the exact same amount, and I remember talking about that.
Yeah. Whereas Guardians 2 made 800 something, and the Guardians 3 made like just below that. So, again, still very close together, but Guardians 2 would have been a major bump.
This is gonna be 12 seasons.
And then Deadpool 3 almost double what that did.
Right. Yeah. The Hugh Jackman effect.
Yeah. Okay. Next, we have Batman v Superman versus Venom. And the fact that these are even close at all, as close as they are, is bonkers.
Oh, that close? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So we've got a movie that on paper should have made a bunch of money but didn't, versus a movie that on paper should have made money but did.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like
either way you look at it, like either way you could tackle this, your logic will make sense. So
yeah, but it's like no, I mean name brand wise, but just because I don't want it to be, I want to say Venom made more money because I'll just feel better if it did.
Batman v Superman made a little more money. Just a little.
Ah! Boo.
BVS was 872. Venom was 856.
Okay.
So within
That's
20
really
million of
good
each
for
other.
Venom.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Venom,
I
like
still can't.
how do you make so much money? I don't understand it.
Like it seems like my thing especially too is like it's not a movie I would see twice. Like it's
No.
a very much a, that was cool and like I'll never watch that again. Like I guess like if I wanted to see it and like you realize like that was weird, but like I don't know, man. I guess it worked. I mean, there are some part, you know, it's like this. That's definitely the movie where you occasionally watch one or two clips on YouTube years later, and that's about it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like yeah, Batman v Superman easily should have broken a billion. Easily. But
Mm.
it like maybe if it had come out during the summer, it would have had a better chance, but it actually had to move away from the Captain America Civil War spot because they were both going to be on the same day at one point. But BBS was like,
Yep.
no, and then moved to March. So,
Which, and again, I don't think like that's the smart move, but at the same time, I'm like, the problem is the writing. Like, if Batman and Superman don't act like Batman and Superman, it's not gonna work. But you
yep.
know,
Uh-huh. It didn't help that had one of the biggest, at least at the time, you know,
drop
Friday to
offs.
Monday drops of any Superman movie ever made, and
Yeah,
then weakest second weekend. So
because everyone was like, "This movie's trash," and told other
yeah.
people, no one else saw it.
hmm Again, one of those movies people try to revisionist history is like people didn't give it a chance. Like they kind of they tried. They tried. No,
Sometimes it's just not good, bro. It's okay.
yeah, it's fine. Next up, two Marvel movies released in 2017: Thor Ragnarok versus Spider-Man: Homecoming.
Ooh, ooh. Okay, this is tough because I want to say Thor, but Spider Man's so popular, and this was the
Mhm.
first Spider Man movie in forever. So I am going to, based off of that alone, I'm going to say Spider Man.
Yes.
Yeah,
Thor was 854. Spider-Man was 880.
yeah, okay. I
Yeah.
feel good about that. Yeah, because again, it is Spider Man. Like people who don't like, I had friends who weren't even caught up on the MCU. Were like, yeah, we're gonna go see Spider Man. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
wow, okay,
Spider-Man.
you're gonna have no clue what's going on. But you know, oh, but it's Spider Man. It's like, well, yes, but like, who's that? That's Iron Man.
What the heck is a
like, where have
Chitari?
you
What are you
been?
talking about?
No, literally, like they have no clue what's going on, but like everyone wants to go see Spider Man, which like it's Spider Man, I get it, but like
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. These two I put together because on paper it is ridiculous to think that these two movies are even anywhere close with like at all. Well, then within the same like rounding error of numbers. Justice League, the 2017 one, versus Ant-Man. How are these movies? They're both in 600 million. How is Ant-Man in the same league as Justice League?
because Justice League is
I know it
not
wasn't a good movie,
great.
but that's not the point. It's Justice League.
No. Again, going based off principle, I want it to be Ant Man, so that's my pick.
It's just barely Justice League.
Boo!
Justice League is
Sadness.
661, Ant-Man is 622.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Ant-Man is one of those weird franchises where like you would think, oh, any movie that's the next movie after an Avengers movie is gonna make, $1 billion. Ant-Man had two chances and it just didn't really do it other time because Ant-Man came out immediately after Age of Ultron. It was the same summer. And then Ant-Man and the Wasp came out immediately after Infinity War. And you would think that both times it would help, but no, not really. Both were in the 600s.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like, I mean, and the thing too about Ant Man, I feel like Ant Man's very consistent with, like, you know, this is what you're gonna get, and it's gonna be good. You know, it's gonna be good, but it's not gonna break the box office. It's gonna be solid, I guess, is the best way of
Mhm.
saying it.
Yeah.
It's like a safe movie, I guess.
Yeah. Like, you don't put that much investment into it and it makes, a decent amount. So you can't be too mad at it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Why they really messed up with Quantumania, that movie being like a $200+ million movie, making 440 something. Like that was not the play. It made a better movie. Next up, and this one is, I'm gonna say these two, and you're gonna be like, how is that the closest? But somehow these are the two closest number wise, and and the numbers are again absolutely crazy. Aquaman versus Captain America: Civil War.
No, no,
See?
no.
We were dying
Say
for
it ain't
Aquaman for all of
so.
2018, and then it broke $1 billion. But did it break more than Captain America?
Really?
Until
Oh man.
Barbie came out, it was I believe it was Warner Brothers' most successful movie of all time until Barbie.
It was so bad.
It's not great.
It's
It's
one of
pretty
those
bland.
like it's pretty awful. Like it's one of those movies that like I don't get like it's I understand nothing else came out when it came out, but like
That's not true. Spider Verse
no.
was the next weekend. No, the previous weekend
I
before.
know,
Bumblebee
but
was the weekend before that. Like there was competition.
I know, but like at the time, Spider Verse wasn't getting the attention it so rightfully deserved, and
Yeah,
you know, it's just, and that was like the sixth Transformer movie at this point,
6.
and people were like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like I'm not saying they didn't exist, but like that, you know, I'm not, like even I didn't want to go see another Transformers movie. I'm gonna be honest. So it's kind of like
It's
I
the
get it,
one though.
but I know, but like when it's the sixth one to get there, it's like, are we really still giving you shit? Like, you know what I'm
No.
saying? But
Yeah.
like, but all that to say, I want to be Captain America, but I feel like it's Aquaman just out of because I'm going to be disappointed.
It is Captain America.
Son of a. Okay, it's fine. It's fine.
But here's the
That's good.
numbers.
No.
1.152 versus
Okay.
1.153.
It's that close.
Exactly.
That's like literally like that's like
If they
one person was like, nah, I won't see it again. Like, oh my
Yeah, like
gosh,
you were
that's
saying, you were joking earlier about it being one day. Like legitimately, if Captain America had been taken out of the theaters one day sooner, it would have not been Aquaman.
oh, absolutely no. I mean, that's literally one day. Not that's probably a couple hours. Like that's like
Yeah.
what 4 shillings maybe.
Uh-huh.
No, I mean not really, but you know what I mean. Like
Yeah.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Man, that's close. And the movies are so like so drastic in quality, in my opinion. Yet so
Hmm.
finances are not everything.
Yeah. Like Civil War is a movie I would watch tonight.
Oh, absolutely.
Aquaman, no.
I'd be asleep before we even get to the water. Like,
Mhm. Um, Next, these are actually the ones that have the biggest difference between them. Um, but they're also possibly, yeah, definitely in the top three worst movies on this entire thing. Um,
oh gosh.
X-Men Apocalypse versus Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Oh goodness. I want to say Amazing Spider-Man 2 made more money because I feel like
Mhm.
Spider-Man just as a whole is more popular, and also X-Men, although also notable that people were probably off the X-Men train by this point.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. That's very right. Spider-Man 2, Amazing Spider-Man 2 made more than I thought it would, considering it was like, you know, like critical reception was so bad that they almost
Uh,
immediately pivoted to the MCU stuff. I thought it would have made like half of this, but X-Men Apocalypse made 543. Amazing Spider-Man 2
that's what
made
I thought.
709.
Oh wow, that is really good considering the public backlash. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean I know it's a Spider-Man movie and a sequel, but it's also like yeah,
Sequel to
I was
movie people
expecting a
didn't
lot
love
less.
in the first place anyway, so
Right, but still, like I don't know. I was kind of I ain't gonna lie, X Men Apocalypse making that much was also a surprise. 'Cause I thought that movie was gonna make diddly.
yeah, like it had a lot of advertising, so it had that going for it.
Yeah,
It
I mean,
also like maybe kind of benefited from a general superhero bump because it came out like 3 weeks after Civil War. So I guess you know I don't know. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's what happened. Um, Next up, possibly two of the best superhero movies on this list, if not, definitely top five for sure.
oh
The
yeah.
Batman versus Captain America: The Winter Soldier.
Ooh, two very good movies. That actually, I ain't gonna lie. Winter Soldier, I would actually watch that right now. That I haven't seen that in a minute. I'd be very.
Yeah,
That's such a good
same
movie.
with The Batman. Again, these are
Uh,
both very good movies.
that's a good movie. I will say I can't watch the Batman now because I'll be it's past my bedtime.
It
It's a
is
long one,
also it is about
but
like 40 minutes longer than Winter Soldier.
that's an investment. But as far as the actual movies go, although between the two, I kind of think Winter Soldier is a better movie. I think the Batman would probably have made more money because I feel like we're deeper into the superhero just era as a whole, and also Batman as a whole is just a more name brand character than Captain America, even at this point after an Avengers movie.
Mm.
So I'm gonna go with Batman.
Yes, that is right. The Batman made 772. Winter Soldier made 714.
Hmm.
And I think I've gone on record saying this before. I genuinely believe that if Captain America, Winter Soldier, and Guardians had switched places, I think both would have made more money because
Interesting.
um, the two previous movies behind Winter Soldier were Iron Man 3 and Thor the Dark World. Iron Man 3 made a bunch of money because it came out the summer
Mhm.
after the Avengers, and everyone likes Iron Man. However,
Right.
general nerd perception of the movie at the time was not very good. People just were they didn't like how they handled the Mandarin. They thought Iron Man's character was weird. Just things about it was just not ideal. You know, Watching it now, I think it's a really really good movie, but especially at the time, you wouldn't think from just hearing what people thought about it, you wouldn't think it'll be $1 billion movie, but it is. And then Thor the Dark World is Thor the Dark World, which we'll get to that in just a minute too. But
Also exists.
yeah. Um, so, you know, coming out the April after Thor the Dark World, maybe people are starting to feel MCU fatigue a little bit. You know, there's nothing connecting Thor into Captain America, whereas the after credit scene of Thor would have connected directly into Guardians, and Guardians is a really good movie. It's actually a very entertaining movie as opposed to Thor. So even if it didn't have like the best opening weekend, I think it would have had pretty long legs for people to because the original Guardians it came out in August. It was I think it came out in August of 2014, which is not usually a time for superhero movies, especially not now.
Mhm.
Um, so if that was like the first movie of the summer, I think it would have been I think it would have done very well. And then with Captain America, if that would come out in like July, I think it could have made more riding off of the hype of, oh, here's a really good Marvel movie. Let's go to the next Marvel movie. And then that movie leading directly into Age of Ultron with this after credit scene. I think those would have leapfrogged each other very, very effectively.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, next. These are just two movies. I don't really know why I paired them together, but I thought it was kind of funny that one is more than the other. Um, Suicide Squad, the bad one, versus Doctor Strange. Pretty good movie. Which made more money.
I was about to ask which one, and then you said the that one. I was like, oh, that one. It was like, did Doctor Strange not make that much money, or did Suicide Squad make a bunch? I feel like Doctor Strange. I remember when saw Doctor Strange the first time. I remember I called it visually stunning. Is what I remember saying about that. It was really cool, the like digging the magic and all the visuals and things like that. But I'm like, and usually that really sells things. But then again, I'm like, okay, if it's on the Suicide Squad, but how much money did that make? Because that movie was
Right.
kind of awful.
I do know that Doctor Strange was the one superhero movie in 2016 I didn't see in theaters.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Because this was the year of all the movies.
Yeah,
Okay.
because it was BVS, Civil War, X-Men Apocalypse, and then also Suicide Squad, and then also Doctor Strange. So there is a
Okay.
chance that
So
this kind of general perception of superhero movies, people get either superhero fatigue within just the year itself. People are, you know, because general public, they don't know Marvel versus DC. They just know
they don't superhero
superheroes.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yes, no, it's so weird. People are like, yeah, oh, he's like, It's like, oh, Marvel, is that one Batman? And I'm just like, oh,
No.
my heart. Like, I want to explain it, but also I feel like if I try to explain, I'll just confuse you more. 'Cause you know nothing.
Yeah.
But
So,
let's
which one
see.
made more money?
Gosh, I can't see the Suicide Squad actually making more money, so I'm gonna go with Doctor Strange.
No, you would have been right. Suicide Squad, it made more money. I
Really?
don't know
Okay.
how. I legitimately have. I guess the commercials were good enough like that it made $749 million.
Suicide Squad?
Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Hey, my bad.
Yeah. The Doctor Strange is
I would not have.
677.
I would not have expected. I would have expected a lot less than that. Honestly,
Yeah.
like Doctor Strange sounds about right. But I thought Suicide Squad was in like the 500s
Hmm.
at least.
Yeah. I don't know. Like especially since public perception of BVS wasn't good, and then maybe people were like, "Oh, maybe Suicide Squad will actually be a good one." The trailers look fun, and the movie is not fun. And then I guess somehow enough people saw it opening weekend to kind of pump it up. I don't know. Maybe it was just the only thing out that weekend. Maybe.
I guess so, but still.
Maybe. All right. Three more. First, Logan versus Thor: The Dark World. One of the best versus one of the ehest.
Please, it's got to be Logan, right? Like I.
Keep in mind, Logan is rated R, so
Yeah, but but Thor: The Dark World. Come on. I mean,
mhm.
real. No, I think it's Logan.
No, it's Thor.
Oh, of course, it's Thor.
So here's like so I'll read the numbers first. Logan was 619, Thor was 644. And I think it's another Man of Steel situation where because it doesn't have the name branding, it kind of didn't do as well as it could have. Because it is
Yeah,
technically the third Wolverine movie, but Wolverine is not in the title. It's not Wolverine
right,
Logan or whatever, or Old Man Logan. It's just Logan.
right.
So people just going up to a theater, because people do this, which I think is crazy. People just go to a theater one day not knowing what they want to see and just pick something and just watch that. They're not gonna. Oh, Logan, that's just a name. I don't know who that is, and just they know him. The general public knows him as Wolverine.
Which is weird. Yeah, why would you go to the theater? Just like you don't research beforehand. Like,
I don't know.
I mean, I like movies, but I don't just go to the theater to watch something. That sounds
Yeah.
like I don't have time. I mean, it sounds like I have too much time on my hands.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Like I don't think Thor: The Dark World deserves 644 million, but
Definitely not.
Logan, if it were called Wolverine Old Man Logan, it easily would have made at least 7. Even if it being rated R, it easily would have made more money.
Interesting.
Um, Next up, The Suicide Squad, the good one, versus Morbius, a really bad one.
Oh God.
Keep in mind, The Suicide Squad released during COVID, during a point where all
Yep.
Warner Brothers movies were released on HBO at the same time.
Right.
And Morbius released in 2022, where it had no excuse.
Yeah. Morbius was terrible. Morbius was terrible, but the memes. No, the memes couldn't save it. I doubt it. No. But then again, COVID is crazy. But wait, was it 2020 or 2021 for the Suicide Squad?
It was, I believe it was September of 2021.
Okay. Okay, so that's enough time for like. I mean, I think we weren't back, but we were like movie theaters were better at that
Yeah,
point.
like by that point, Black Widow had already come out in theaters, day and date for
Right.
$30 on Disney Plus. Shang-Chi was either out or was about to come out. Um, Tenant was out. Like there was a couple of movies where like movies are back because this thing is out. You know, a couple of different times. Then movies Tenant didn't really come back for a while. But, that happened. Um,
Yeah.
Whereas
Also, unrelated,
Morbius released
where is
on
Shang-Chi?
whereas Shang-Chi 2, no,
Sorry.
it just
That was a good movie, and we're just never gonna talk. Like that's disrespectful. Like, come on,
I
man.
agree. Like he, like so like every single time like the 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 script or like concept for Kang Dynasty gets leaked is like Shang-Chi was gonna be like leading the team or leading one of the teams during Avengers Kang Dynasty, but like he might for Doomsday, he might not. I don't know. Maybe let's forget about him entirely. I don't know. I want him to come
No
back, but
idea.
yeah. But yeah, which made more, the Suicide Squad or Morbius?
Oh God, please. You know, I think it's Morbius because I don't want it to be Morbius.
Suicide Squad made barely more money, just barely.
Dang. Hey, I'll take it.
The Suicide Squad was 168. Morbius was 167.
The Suicide Squad only made 168.
It did again released with COVID and also
I know, but
on HBO at the same
still.
time. And no movie
Yeah,
released
that's
by
true. I forgot. That was
like
so
no movie
stupid.
released by Warner Brothers not called Dune made any money during that period.
Yeah, and it's like that. Yeah, the whole streaming. I still don't understand the streaming at the same time. Why even do it in theaters if you're gonna do that?
To make some money, I guess. Like,
But like, uh, wouldn't it? Why not just make it only in theaters then? Like, I feel like you would make more money doing that. If you put it online, people who were gonna see it in theaters would just be like, "Oh, well, now it's online."
yeah, I don't know.
Like, that's what I would have done.
I saw Wonder
But
Woman.
no.
That's how I saw Mortal Kombat and Godzilla versus Kong. Both of those actually made a decent amount. They're both in the 400s. So, like, they clearly could make money during that period.
It's just not easy, I guess.
Yeah. Yes, Morbius, no excuse outside of just being in a bad universe of bad Sony Spider-Man movies. Last up, again, ones that are really close. Um, we have The Dark Knight, possibly the best movie on this list, versus The Joker, a movie a lot of people pretend to like.
Uh, pretend to like.
I, I
Oh
don't know. I'm
man,
sure it's
I don't
fine,
know.
but I don't know if it's like that good, you know?
From everything I've heard, again, I haven't seen it, but from everything I've
Mm-hmm.
heard, it was a movie that had nothing to do with the Joker. They just slapped the name on it for the money, and
Yeah.
apparently it works. That movie did make a lot of money.
Both made over a billion, which made more billions.
Yeah, either like The Dark Knight, but I feel like Dark Knight also really did get its due because at the time, because again, this was 2008 also, and this was
Mm-hmm.
like they because again the movie's really good. This was the second movie in that series, and like that was like peak. Like they made a bunch of money on that.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember when Joker came out, everybody was talking about it.
Yep.
Like he was and that was more recently. That was because Joker was what
2019.
19?
19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is like the year of movies because that's when Endgame came out. So
Yeah.
everyone's like,
Like every
also
movie, every big movie that came out in 2019 made $1 billion.
exactly, which is why I'm going to say Joker.
You're right. The Dark Knight
Yeah.
made 1.006. Joker made 1.074.
Mm.
So the Dark Knight like just barely squeaked by a billion, which is I thought was kind of
And they
surprising.
probably, yeah. I mean, it makes sense because again, you got to go back to the context of 2000. Like that same movie in 2016 makes like 300 million more at least because
At
just
least,
superhero
yeah.
movies in general are like just more mainstream. Because again, like yes, I
Mhm.
know like the Tobey Maguire Spider-Mans, the X-Men's, some of Fantastic Four movies had come out prior to this, but like
This is the
after
first
like
really good one.
20 right. And after like 2000, like after that first Avengers movie, and then like the Marvel movies start going. Now it's like people are coming to the theaters for superhero movies. Like this is what we're here
Yeah,
for. So,
absolutely.
so yeah, I definitely think that would have made even more. But I still think it's really great. I think it's a great movie still for when it came out and made a bunch of money. So
Hmm.
it's
Absolutely.
so cool.
All right, that was fun. Okay. Anything else you want to bring up or discuss before we sign off?
uh, no, no, well, no. Life is good.
All right. So with that, we will see you all next time.
Take care.